Hey guys, this is Daniel and welcome to my rigging tutorial. This here is the character that we are going to work with, and I have the rigging done already in this one, so I quickly want to preview what exactly we're going to learn in this tutorial. So I have a quick animation applied on it, so you can see that she can move, the cloth works together, and one of the big features is the hair simulation. It is not perfectly done in this example here, but we will do it better in this tutorial. This is just a proof of concept, more or less. So just to give you a quick view at the rig itself. So here's my model and here's the rig. We're going to use a combination of normal rigging with armature systems together with deformer meshes. So I should mention maybe that this tutorial is maybe not the best for people who are completely new to the topic. You should have at least some basic knowledge about armature rigging, wave painting, deformer meshes, and generally speaking, like some basic Blender knowledge. So as for the armature itself, we have FK rig for most of the areas. For the legs, I decided to go with an IK rig. You can easily change that, it's really nothing too big. And as I said, the hair is using physics, so we have a rigid body setup that should work. Something is going wrong here, but I think there's a problem with the collider, but anyways, that shouldn't happen in our tutorial here. Yeah, something's going wrong here. Anyways, this is what we're going to do. We'll cover many different aspects of rigging, so let's get started. Wrong file. What a good start. So here's the right one. So here's my empty scene. I have optimized the character a little bit. I decided to go with everything in one mesh, simply because that makes it very easy to work with the character later on. Imagine you have to import the character and you have to select all those objects. Well, not the best. So let me quickly clean up a few things. So now it's just an object with subdivision surface modifier on it, and that's it. We don't need the light as well. So how do we get started? First of all, I want to think about, like in my head, I need a concept for how I'm going to rig it. You see that we have here multiple objects, which is a very troublesome thing in some techniques. The skirt is one part, like the upper part here is another one. Then we have a couple of very tiny parts here, and if you have experience with using the armature system, you might know that separated parts tend to glitch to each other. You get intersections and it's hard to work with. On the other hand, the normal armature system works very good on connected objects like the arm or the legs, and the rotation on the head, and all that stuff is very good with armature system. So how can we solve the cloth then? Basically, the idea is to use a deformer mesh on the body and armature system on like the arms and what did I say? I mean, I want to use a deformer mesh on the cloth and an armature system on the body. That is the plan. And by the way, the deformer mesh is in the end driven by the armature system again. It's just to have a very even deformer and to avoid basically intersections, and you'll see later on how that works. So to get started, I will just start by separating those two areas. We'll need an armature modifier and we'll need a mesh deform modifier. I want subdivision surface to happen afterwards regardless. So we don't have an armature system yet, we'll leave that as it is. The only thing that I want to set is the vertex group, because I know already, here's some old vertex groups, I'll delete all of them. So we have no vertex groups at the moment. And I want to make a group for armature and another group for deformer. And in here, this will basically be the selector for which area is manipulated with the armature and which one is with the deformer mesh. And basically I should maybe display my, what was it? What was it again? Give me just a second. Oh, wait a second, I think I know it. Could it be that that add-on is gone? Well, I wanted to display the keys that I'm pressing. It looks like I haven't prepared that. So I will just comment on the things that I think are important. So anyways, when you hover your mouse over the mesh and you press L, then you can select linked areas. That makes it very easy to select like the entire hair and the entire body. And these are the areas that I want to do with the armature system. And I think I have everything now. Looks good to me. Oh, maybe the eyes too. Alright, so now that I have everything selected, I select the armature and I press assign and make sure that the weight is on 1. Then I press Ctrl I to invert the selection and I assign it to the deformer group. So with that done, I go back to the modifiers and I select armature for the armature system and deformer for the deformer modifier, and we'll leave it with that for now. So now we can get started with a new armature system. Now that we have prepared that, in object mode I just add a new armature system and we'll get started. I leave the bone where it is and I'll call it root maybe, because I want to have a bone here at the base just so that I can place the character. Now I want to get started with the spine. So the spine consists usually of just a few bones, maybe 3 or 4. In my case, I want to have the hip separate though. So I want to be able to rotate the hip or the upper body. So the direction that maybe I should display it this way, then you can see it better. So basically you will end up being able to rotate the hip individually and the upper body individually. And if you want to rotate both of them, I'll make a third bone here in the back that is basically a controller system here. So as for connections, these are all separated, but I want these two to be parented to the one in the back. So I select these two, make sure to select the controller one as the last one, press Ctrl P and keep offset. Now if you go to pose mode to test it, you see that if you move this one, both of them move. You can rotate this one individually, you can rotate this one individually, and if you rotate this one, they move, all of them move. You can of course, move them away, but you don't want that. You could, lock it like this, I believe, so that you can't move it anymore, but you don't need to do that. I mean, it's up to the animator to leave it as it is or not. Anyways, as for the placement, this is like maybe a bit of experience that you need to gain with it. Let me just say one thing, it's not about the length at all, it's really about the origin of where the rotation comes from. So if I want the hip to rotate around this point, then this is what's important, not which direction this is facing and so on. Especially when there is no continuing chain, it really could be anywhere, it could be here and still work for this area. The really important part is really the origin of the bone, because that's the point where everything will rotate around. So everything else I will just place so that it's convenient to use. So for the upper body, I'm kind of not sure if I want to have more than 2 bones. I mean, let's see. Yes, I think I'll make just 3 bones. Because if you have too many, it's again annoying to work with, but if you have too few, you might have not enough control again. So let's just go with 3 bones for the spine, and we should not forget to name things properly, because I know everyone is lazy and I'm lazy myself. I'll just call it very quickly hip, what should I call it? Controller until I come up with a better name. This is spine 01. I'll copy the name, and this will be spine 02, and this one will be is that a good naming? You can't really name it anything that you're comfortable with. So you could also name it, you know, chest and I don't know, something. The only thing that's important is when you start to do left and right mirrored armature, you want to have a certain ending that we'll cover in a moment. So let's continue. I think this placement will work. This should be fine. So let's move on. So we'll still need a neck, of course, and the head. Something like this should be good. Let's name it head and neck. And that's already quite a bit. Everything can be moved at this point. Looks good so far. Great. If the position is off, you know, we can still adjust it a bit later. It's not too bad, but try to get it right away. That's a good thing. So as for left and right, we want to go here to options and select X-axis mirror. If you don't see this, just press T, then you can here show this menu in the options bar that you can find this tool. And now when we want to extrude it, if you just press E to extrude, you will not get a mirrored extrusion. So what you want to do instead is Shift E, and that will extrude it in both directions. And I'm just going to do it twice because I don't need this one actually. I just want to get the position right. That way it's easier. And also this gives us already the correct parenting. So you can see it moves with this bone because it's parented to it. And this will be our shoulder bone. And here you can finally see the naming. It's of course now a little bit off, but we'll call it shoulder. This must be a left side, and let's copy it because this will be the right side. And the good thing when you have the naming correct is that when you move it, the other side moves as well. But let's say I change the name. Look at this, it doesn't move anymore. So as long as you keep the naming correct, you'll have a good time creating your rig. It will be a lot easier. So shoulder should be good, like this. So from what I've seen is that most people have a different origin for the arm. So again, I will make a bridge here. It's just parented to the shoulder bone, but not connected. So that way we have a more accurate position of the shoulder joint. Actually, I believe in this case it wouldn't have made a big difference if those were connected, but I just see it very often that people create rigs like this, so there must be some reason. Maybe usability. Anyways, it's hard to tell here where the joint exactly is, but try to also use the length of the bones as a reference in combination with your knowledge about anatomy. So for example, these I guess shouldn't be like, you know, this is obviously wrong, as just as much as this one would be not very correct. So find the right balance here and continue with the bones. Now this is where, you know, this whole rigging gets very annoying, because you'll have to do one finger after another, and this can be a very tedious process. So, by the way, try to also keep the rotation more or less correct. Where is it again? You can actually display the rotation axis, which should be, where was it again? Here, right, in the Armature tab over here. That way you actually know which direction everything is facing. And I like to keep the well, you should just be aware of it and make sure that this is even, and at least it shouldn't be like, you know, this is X in this direction and then shouldn't be like 180 degrees inverted on this side. Just make sure you don't get things too wrong there. The rotation will be way more important later on when you do the hair, because we'll have some constraints there that copy rotation, and those will be off if you don't take care of that too much. It will also be important, I think, with the legs and the IK rig, but we'll get to that a bit later. And so here is a quick task for you. You have to do all the fingers, obviously, and that's a lot of work, but this is how you do it. Like one finger, and then you delete this, and you can, once you have placed everything correctly, just copy this and copy this and copy this, and then make sure that these are really inside of the fingers, and it will take a while. But I will not do it right now because I want to move on with the legs. I will do that in between the first and the second part. So in the next part of this tutorial, it will be done already. You can, you know, do that on your side, and the next part will be on the same progress again. Just make sure that here as well, I think for the fingers especially, the rotation is important again, because, you know, you might end up in pose mode, you know, when you rotate it, you press X twice, and then you can rotate it around the local X axis. But if it's 45 degrees off, like here, this will be pretty useless. So let's adjust it so that the X axis actually shows into the right direction, like it should be about here. Same for this one. It's a bit hard to tell because it's inside. Maybe it was a bit too much. And here, this one looks not too bad. So this is how your finger should look like. And as for naming, you know, thumb, index, middle, ring, pinky, and you might want to call it, you know, let's give it a few names here. Index 03, and it's the left hand. Then this will be number 2, and this will be the tip 01. You could also name it, you know, I don't know, tip, base, mid, or something, whatever is good for you. I'll also call this hand on the left side, hand on the right side, and because we named the fingers over here, we definitely need to get the names right on the other side, with the only difference that this will be on the right side, not on the left side. So it's number 2, and this will be number 1 on the right side. And to check if everything works, just move them around in edit mode, and if everything is mirrored on the other side, then you did the naming right. So we'll get some names for here as well. Arm on the right side, arm left. I'll just call this upper arm left and upper arm right. So I'll quickly check if I haven't forgot anything as for naming. Now looks good. Okay, so looks like I have everything so far. Let's continue with the legs. So as for the hips, it's kind of important where you place the root of the bone. So I did the same thing again in case you didn't see that. So I have this one parented again to this one, but it is not connected. So in anatomy you'll learn that the joint is somewhere around here. It's not too much in the middle, and you will see that this is true as soon as you start, deforming it. You need to get the weights right here, and it is possible to get it, to make it work. It's a bit in the front as well, but it's difficult and it's a bit unexpected, so try to position it in a similar way. For the knee, this will be a bit challenging. The knee is always a bit difficult because this has such a huge volume, and when you rotate the knee, it also ends up on the other side, and it's hard to keep the volume and everything. But we'll see if we run into issues a bit later on. Then here is my next joint, and I'll get just one for the toes, and this will be enough. Later on, when we set up the IK system, we will change a few things here, but that's for later on. So make sure you position everything from the front as well. A quick check, and to me everything looks alright. So let's by the way, I want to parent this bone to my root bone, so that this is really my move everything bone, root, and then just name everything. I hope I'm spelling that right. I have no idea. Anyways, I know which bone I'm referring to when saying that. So it's alright. Names are especially important when you work with others on a project. So, it has to be understandable for them. I think that's the most important thing. And toes. Let's see if we got everything right. Yeah, looks like the names work just as expected. So this is the first step in rigging a character, and just to give you something, a little bit exciting result before ending the tutorial, I will save it here, because in the next tutorial we'll redo it properly. Just select the character, and then select the armature and press Ctrl P and set it to automatic weights. And I'll just quickly check if the modifiers have changed. Yeah, we have here the new modifier. I don't want that one. I want to use my own one, so I will select the armature instead here. And if everything worked correct, then it should move already. So as you can see, like, the leg works pretty good already. The arms should too. The clothes should not move because we set the group at the beginning, if you remember. That's what it was good for. So if you move it, you only end up moving the parts we decided on at the beginning. So pretty good if you ask me. And I'll leave it there. In the next part we'll do this step again and look in more detail at the weight painting and how we really finish that properly. Also, I got to finish the fingers, right? So I'll do that, and I'll see you again in the next part. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something.